Okay, now, tell me, if you are a person who, gives donations to people online, if they're going through a bad time, there's so many ways that I've seen just on YouTube. There are other, platforms. But since the past 11 years that I've had my channel, my original channel, it's 11 years next month. I have more than one. But I personally have never donated to anybody. Never given anybody any money. Anybody. Online ever. I had my first computer in 1982. So just think. And I have my reasons, you bet I do. And one of them, things some people don't even think about is, I think some people aren't, that they give people money and that's their thing. They give them, that's their business kind of thing. But they aren't thinking. Because like if you read the comments and you read this person sent them this amount of money, and the comment you kind of go, are you for real? Something like, they're not catching on. But anyway, I have been thinking about this again. Say somebody, this is something that is real. Like I said, 11 years, I have seen so many people over 11 years who have tried to get money from their audiences. They tried and have received money from audience, different people, and some good chunk of change sometimes. And they've lied. And they got caught lying. Seriously. I've mentioned this one before recently. I don't even remember how many years ago it was. But it was somebody that, I think the story was that it was a married couple and they had a couple kids and they were doing RV living or something. And I think they were out in Arizona. Isn't that the place that a lot of RV people go to? There used to be, I don't know if it still is. I used to watch them. Adam and I used to watch them when I first started doing videos. They come up and I told him, and it's so different from us now, something, living in an RV or a car or a van or, such difference from our lifestyle. So it was kind of interesting. And anyways, there was something in Arizona, or was it New Mexico? I don't know. I've never done that. But anyway, the people, the couple, married couple, the woman said that her husband left her. Maybe it was something about he was cheating on her. They had a fight. He left, and she is by herself with her kids. Something along this line. And there was some part for the RV that they needed, and it was going to cost. Maybe I'm mixing stories here because there's so many. I've seen so many, or heard about so many. Not just one genre, not just RV people. There's so many different genres, and and there were different kind of scams. Even people collecting money for donations for big things, like children's hospitals or something like this. So many different things over these years, and they turn out to be lies. Like this RV thing, somebody out there was out there in that area, and they found her. They located her, this woman and her 2 kids, because she put out like she was in such dire straits, such a bad situation. There was somebody out there already, so they were thinking, I'm going to go and help her. I don't know if it was another married couple or what. Here comes Adam. Please don't hit me. Please don't drive into my SUV. He's coming in hot. Okay, where was I? Yeah, he went to the grocery store. He had dental, oral surgery. They used to call it oral surgery. I don't know if they call it dental. What it is, ever it is now. They change things every time you turn around. It's got a new name. But he had a bone graft. He had a wisdom tooth, his first tooth ever. He said he's never had a tooth taken out, extracted. Ever, never. And it was a wisdom tooth. It cracked in half, I guess. And they took it out and did a bone graft. I don't remember that. I didn't have bone grafts back then. Maybe that's something new too. But he can't drink caffeine or anything hot like coffee. And he is a big time coffee drinker. That man drinks coffee all day. And he can't smoke cigarettes. That man smokes cigarettes all day. And I mean, the biggest problems we have, seriously, is when we go somewhere, like out to eat or to a grocery store, and man, he wants a cigarette. He wants a cigarette so bad. And that's when he is like, I can't handle you. Can't deal with you. And I go, get lost somewhere, seriously. We're out to eat, he'll put that food through, shove it through, and he'll be finished with mine. There's been a time when he had finished his, when I was still like just a quarter of mine I'd eaten. And then, of course, he wants to eat mine, too. He wants to rush it. But he likes to eat mine, too. Whatever's left at that point. But anyway, he went to get some chicken to make some soup. I'm not a fan of chicken anymore. We had a whole lot of that in 2020 and 2021, and that was too much. I never liked chicken before then. Anyway, so where was I? Back to this about the RV people. Somebody went out to help her, and found out that her husband was right there. The RV woman with the kids. They were lying to the audience for money. Plain and simple. They got caught in the lie. Okay, they got caught in the lies because they didn't need any. She didn't need anything to fix the RV or any of that. They had money for groceries. The biggest one that I have ever seen, no matter what genre, all over these years, and I've seen many of them. Some of them are still doing it. That's the biggest lies. I don't have money for groceries. That works on people's, too many people. They want to help because they can just figure out somebody that's out there starving. Even the people who talk about going to food banks, when they admit to that they have the money for the food, but they don't want to spend their money. Okay? They don't want to spend that money. They have it in their budget for food, but they don't want to spend it. They make enough money, to have it, but they want to go to food banks and get free food. That kind. And there's so many people who have really, for whatever genre, like I said, they have gotten caught. Their lies, people found out. And these, I remember hearing, I don't know how many times over these years, people say, yeah, those RV people, they'll find you. I mean, in a way it makes sense. Because RV, people who are RV, they like to go, some of them, not everybody, they like to go to these state parks or wherever that they can hide out sometimes. And, like nobody find them, but then, they have to go, like find somebody because they're worried about somebody gets lost. They know how to do it. They'll find you. They will find you. That's what people would say. They will find you. So, but, you can see people, on various channels when the people are starting this grifting and e-begging and conning, whatever, con artists, scammers, whatever it is, they found ways to get money off of their audiences by lying, often just flat out lying and not caring, lying and or not caring, all that kind of stuff. And they don't realize that some of these people will find them. Find find out. There's that. And then there's the ones who will find every reason as to why that they can't work, they can't work. And then that's leaving them without money and all that. Now me, I don't have any way anybody can pay me any way, or anybody can contact me all these years. At first I think when I first started, the only thing I knew that I could do was Dollar Tree or shopping videos. And I was basically did videos in shopping, and at first some of it was very little was makeup, with the beauty community. And I had a lot of people back then. It was real community based. They would send one another presents, not money. Well, I guess some may have done that. I don't know if any that did. But, it was usually just presents and stuff. I did that short, just a few times, and that was enough. That I stopped having a post office box. Something like that. It wasn't something that I'd like to do. Because then I switched, like a few months later, I switched to a different genre anyway. Because the people that were in these other two that I was, got connected with, they weren't nice people. Plain and simple. I'll just put it that way. It turned out they were, nope. And I got really, burned on it. Said, not really burned, but just said no. I don't want this kind of drama. I'm not here for that kind of, what they were wanting to do. No. But anyway, hold on. I'm adding in too much past in here. But yeah, I've seen so much of these things, so many of them. And so then some of these people, they don't realize that some people, like what I was saying was, some people will, they're not stalking the person. They're worried about the person. And they say, oh, I don't have money for groceries, and they'll have whatever amount of kids, that they do. And they probably do. Although things had changed at one point. I think people stopped putting their kids on videos there was a whole legal COPPA, was it? Whatever. I don't know. I never put anybody's kids on my video, so. But people are worried. They're concerned, and they're thinking, some of these people, they felt like, this is some part of our family. The RV people. These are our peeps. We got to go and help whatever we can. And they wouldn't know their phone number, how to reach them, and they may have tried online, and you never know. And what is the situation? Why they wouldn't know, and all of a sudden, boom, there they are, they got caught. So, now, the other thing is about working. Sometimes they see that they can get money off of their audience. Somebody might start innocent. A lot of them do start that way. And then they see, that the audience is, some people in the audience are being rude, and they mention it, and the next thing you know, the rest of their audience is taken up for them, and all this, and then it just balloons, and the next, like it's scripted. It's as if it's scripted. It just follows usually the same pattern. And then they start doing this on a regular basis because their audience is going to pay them. It's in the money, memberships, whatever it is. They're just going to do that. So they keep it up. They're playing the victim. And sometimes, this is something people need to watch for also, because sometimes they might be stalking. Or imagine how angry a person might get if they go, trying to help somebody and then find out these people are lying. That's not good either. I mean, they shouldn't get all that angry, but you see what I'm saying. People who get up there and they lie a lot. And, and like this about work is they say that they can't work because of something physical. okay, that they were working and then now they can't and they need their audience to help them. They're going to spend a lot of time doing videos and doing whatever they can, and they're going to make different artwork or something, and they'll send them that. Some won't even say they're going to send you anything. You know, like some people, they make stuff that they're going to sell online, but if people donate, just donate money to them, they're not going to send that person something. You know, you see? So, but yet they make stuff and sell it online. Got all that? Okay, and one of the bigger lies in that, with the money, you know, that part of the thing is that they can't work. Or that they'll say that editing takes them all day, takes 10 hours, takes all this time just to edit. If you're that slow, really? I mean, I know you're looking at my channel, you're saying you're not even on camera. I've been there, done that over, this will be 11 years next month. So, been there, done that, different things, even live streams, you know, shorts, you name it. But I've done the editing, and I know it takes time, but 8, 10, 12 hours a day, they exaggerate quite a bit. And some of them, if that's really what you've done and it looks like that and that's all you've done, you're saying it's taking you all that time to do that little? You see. But the people who are in the audience, they don't know this. They don't know that it doesn't really take all day long. But people will say it. You know, I mean, I would have to, something would have to be spectacular, out of this world for it to take that long. Or maybe they're just slow with it. They just really don't know what they're doing, or they're too busy talking, chatting on the phone, watching videos, chatting with people there, making sure nobody's leaving them bad comments so they have to dirty delete them. So, seriously. Takes you all day long to edit a video. Right. But maybe somebody does, yeah. So if they have to make a choice, should they, since they're giving, you know, people are sending them money on videos, maybe they do live streams. People send them money. And why am I going to work? That kind of thing, you see? I just do live streams 24/7. I'm telling you. But anyway, as far as that, does anybody know any truth to it? Does anybody know for certain that this person is ill? Nobody knows for certain if I am, and I don't ask for money. I don't have any of those things where like I said earlier, where anybody could send me any, and I don't have them, won't have them. I better not tempt fate. No, I don't believe you that you tempt fate, but, you know, no, I don't have any of that stuff. 11 years next month. So, yeah. But it's just, you know, nobody knows. You're trusting what this person said, who's getting lots of money off of their audience, and you really, basically what you will see is a thank you, but you really don't see much more. Do you see this? Do you ever hear them say things like, okay, thank everybody for sending me all that help. We got the money. We've received enough. We got the whatever fixed. And here's the bill. Here's the receipt. So please don't send any more. Thanks for all of you who did. You know, but that's great. That's wonderful. You know, and I appreciate it. You know, this kind of thing. How often do you hear anything like that from them? Especially the ones who say this about that they don't have enough money for groceries. And then you look down and you see people send them $250, $200. Really? Does your grocery bill cost you $250 for a week or two? Do you make meals that are $80 for a meal for one serving for 2 people. $80. I've seen it. But they don't have enough money for groceries. Do you ever hear them say, "Hey, we got enough. Things have changed. We're going great. We're back on track"? Do you ever hear that? In 11 years, I have never heard that. Never. Anything like that. Never from any of these. Not, well, there was one. She was an older woman. One time. But I think she still likes those donations. Yeah. How many times have you heard things like people say, I've done videos about this one. People say that if their channel is going to continue, then they need the audience to help support them and to keep the channel going, and they word things different ways. And but basically, I've made a video saying, hey, some people might hear that and think they're investing. You get it? That's like a contract they're putting up there, you know, for people to send them money to help support the channel. And then, okay, go from there. You know, some people may be thinking that it's going to be the same, if not get better. But instead, what often happens when people start getting money is they slack off. They don't want to do as much. They know that if they want to get some money, they just hop on a live stream and start talking. And people start sending money right and left. Or claim that they don't have enough money for groceries again. Yeah. There was a young, I'm sitting out in front of my house in the driveway in my SUV, and behind me is the road, and there was I'd say she's probably a young teenager, and she, I think they're new to our neighborhood, and I see her gliding by, you know, zoom, there she is again. I don't know what it is that she is on. It doesn't look like a skateboard. Doesn't look like skates, but it looks like a combination. What's out now? You know? But she goes zoom, zoom. I can see it with my rear view and side view mirrors, you know. I see movement and I look over and zoom, she's going by one of the other ones. But she's out there having fun. Man, when I was a kid, we would have skates every once in a while, or skateboard, but not like today, you know. Yeah, they have all kinds of fun stuff, don't they? Young people. But anyway, back to the topic. So, how many of you, if you've been online for, you know, long enough, and you've seen a few of these, and you're not so easily influenced by, you know, a sad story, because you've seen quite a bit of these, or whatever is the case, why you wouldn't. There can be more than one reason why you wouldn't, you know, believe. Just, you might not trust people, and you might be rightfully so that you don't. But how many of you who have seen plenty of them have ever seen any of them say, "Stop sending me money"? Seriously, how many? I want to know. I really do. Have you ever seen that? And what does that say overall? If they're saying that they don't have any money for groceries, yet then they go buy groceries and they buy expensive stuff, or they go to food pantries, get the good stuff. When you see their homes and their neighborhoods and stuff like that, and they live in, let's say, I've seen some upper middle class. I've seen some who seem legitimate. They don't live in the best neighborhoods, and they don't have the best things in their home, you know, brand new appliances and all this stuff, you know, for the kitchen and bedroom, living room, wherever they're showing. They don't get to go buy new vehicles, and they don't have an SUV sitting outside, or not an SUV, a camper, you know, RV, that's it, yeah. They don't have the RV that they just use once a year sitting outside that they could sell this kind of thing. There are people who are actually needy, but then there are people who are just greedy, like I've just described. How many of them have you seen don't send me money? Have you heard them say that? How many of them will actually try to help people find devious ways to do it that might be against whatever contract, on whatever social media contract, social media platform it is, and the contract says you can't do this. They're making money too, so you have to do whatever it is a certain way. But then there are people they'll find who make the videos. They'll try to find ways that they can make all of it and promote that with their audience, or promote ways they can make more money by going to food banks and such, and not telling people that sometimes if you're doing that, it could be illegal. Lying to your audience. Sometimes, I am not a person of voice of authority on this, but I've read on this and I've experienced not experienced, but I've heard on this, but experienced as in hearing over all these years. People talk about that and how these things are illegal to lie, especially, if it's something through the government. People are told everybody can go there. Well, no, not everybody can. So they get them and say, oh, I better lie. No. Don't let these people teach you to lie. But I don't tell anybody what to do or not do. So that's just not something I do. Anyway, but who's ever heard any of them say something like that? Who's ever heard any of them say, well, it does depend a lot. Now, if they hear somebody say something like that, or if somebody leaves them a comment saying, why aren't you telling these people the risk involved, then they might start doing that. But they're not going to say it was from a comment. They're going to take full credit for it to make themselves look good. You see, a lot of it's about them making themselves look good, when they did not do the work. They weren't doing that prior to it. No. Okay, but there's reasons these kinds of things are on my mind. And another one just kind of hit me. And it was before I ever got on any, like YouTube, anything where you make videos or watch videos. Just before then, probably could be a decade before then. But, however long ago it was. But I remember this woman. She was a real sweet woman. I don't even remember what platform it was. It wasn't any of those. I don't think it would be still around. I doubt it. So it probably was in the 1990s. And there was this woman. She, I barely, just vague memories of it. She was so sweet. And the people were in like, it wasn't like chat, like you've probably seen people chat and such, but it was in a different format, but the same kind of concept as a person having a channel, and people would chat that way with one another and the person whose channel, but it wasn't a channel, it was an account or something, and like I could have one, she could have one, then we could use ours to talk to back and forth to one another, leave a message on one another, and so could other people and stuff like that. And I was a student back then, and I was a student back then, I think. It was a long time. I was a career student for like 20 years, and over 20 years. And I remember her, she was so sweet. She was younger than I, and I remember this guy come along, and she was married, and I was married, and she was, he would chat with her, and leave messages that started creeping me out, started giving me the heebie-jeebies. And he just kept laying it on thick, and it says something like, why don't we meet up and go have lunch, go have coffee or something like that. And we didn't have any way of contacting the person unless somebody gave you a phone number, but everybody would see it. There was no behind the scenes. And I so wanted to protect her because I saw he was creepy, like stalkerish. And I think she finally started to catch on that he wasn't right, right in his mind. And so then the next thing I know, she disappeared. And I remember thinking, did she disappear because she didn't want him to be bothering her like that? She was afraid of him, whatever it was, or what? And during that time, there was another woman that was back when videos, no, it wasn't at the same time. No, I don't think so. It was sometime after that. But she had learned how, it wasn't even videos. I think it was, she learned, it was before, remember, social media hasn't been around forever. And she learned how to have her voice heard. That was a big thing. It wasn't a video, it was voice. Wow, big thing. And instead of just text, it was voice. And she lived in a city that's north of here. And some guy, he found out she would say things about her job and stuff. Well, he recorded these things and he called her boss and got her fired. I don't know if she got fired or suspended or something. And she was humiliated because she talked about a man she worked with that she had a crush on and all this kind of stuff. So this guy found her. Creepy. That is creepy. So, you see what I'm saying? Well, anyway, she just stopped. She just disappeared too. She let everybody know, but then she just disappeared. Nobody knows. Was it her choice, by choice, or what? And that wasn't the only ones I've seen over the years. That they just disappear. And that's scary. Really, really is. I mean, yeah. So, anyway, it's starting to get dark. I guess I should start wrapping this up and go in and see what Adam's doing. He went to buy chicken. He bought a bunch of chicken. Okay. He's hungry. But he likes to cook chicken. He likes to actually cook it. I've known him. We met and married almost 45 years ago. It's only been the past few years that he's started cooking. So, I don't mind. All those other years, guess who did all the cooking? You got it, me. Found the groceries, all of it. And then some. And then I had to work, and I was a student. Think about that. Yep. So, anyway, I'm sure there was other stuff I wanted to talk about, but I have made some videos today. I have. He's been sleeping most since he got back yesterday from having that oral dental surgery, and he's mainly been sleeping, and so it's been kind of quiet. And I've had, he slept a lot, so I made a lot of videos. Anyway, I'll wrap it up. Talk to you on another video. Bye.